Douglas Dash, an easy-peasy person from Easy-Peasy Island in the middle of the terrific ocean, by Roger Hargreaves and Gray Joliffe. If you're in a hurry, why not say a quick hello to Douglas Dash, the easy-peasy ostrich? He lives in Turbo Cottage on Fast Lane, in the easy-peasy Serengeti, on Easy-Peasy Island in the middle of the terrific ocean. Ostriches, as you are very well aware, unless if you weren't prior to reading the story, are one of the fastest animals ever. Douglas Dash is the fastest ostrich on the entire island. And it's not just him. His good friend Siddiqui Sprint, the easy-peasy cheetah, is also turbo fast. They are known as the Turbo Duo, and that's also the name of a relatively unknown video game system, but that's not important right now. Our story begins. One cool autumn morning. Douglas's alarm clock went off at 6:30 a.m. He was up like greased lightning, rushing about his bedroom, getting dressed, making his bed, going to the bathroom, washing his face, cleaning his teeth, and hurrying downstairs 4 at a time. Douglas then began preparing his breakfast in the blink of an eye, or 2, or 3, or more, who knows. Anyway, he made 2 boiled eggs, a toast and a cup of tea for his breakfast, but it was barely made properly and he only ate half of it. Then he looked outside his kitchen window and saw the leaves falling from the trees outside. "Oh, crivens!" he exclaimed. "I'd better get busy some more. I know, I'll paint my house." And then off he bustled to the general store at max speed. He was back at his house in no less than half a nanosecond, paint pot in hand. Light blue paint, that is. And then he fetched his ladder from his garden shed in 2 shakes of an antelope's tail and zoomed across the house with his paint roller at the speed of light. It was then a good friend of his came flying over from the easy-peasy outback. I bet you're wondering who that is, don't you? Crikey, look out, mate! It was Sean Swoop, the easy-peasy sugar glider. He came sailing along the air in a very awkward way, and he bumped slap-bang straight into the wall of Turbo Cottage. That startled Douglas. He said, "Crivens! Whatever are you doing, Sean?" "Struth, mate!" exclaimed Sean. "I was just sailing through the air when I thought I'd come on over and see how you doing, mate." Then he said, "I was wondering, mate, you got a minute?" "I can't stop, wee bonny lad," replied Douglas. "I only got another second to spare." "Okay, well, you look like you could use a helping hand, cobber," replied Sean. Douglas didn't even bother to reply. He continued his work diligently in no less than a second. Sean decided to lend Douglas a helping hand by picking up the paint pot and putting it over to the paint roller tray. But because of his awkward mobility, he tripped up and fell on his face, spilling paint all over the ground. Douglas was furious. But not for long. He quickly cleaned it all up, zoomed off to the shops and bought some more light blue paint and continued his work quickly. Then he said to Sean, "Why didn't you try blowing on the paint or something? That might dry it off." Sean did so, but he didn't have enough puff to make the paint dry. He tried using his leathery wings as fans, but that didn't do much either. Douglas then had a suggestion. "Who bet you put on some music? That'll work well. I could get my house painted in no time at all." "Bonza, mate!" agreed Sean. "I'll fly back to my place and get my CD player and put on Susie Squawk's greatest hits. I'll be back soon." And off he set. Douglas went diligently back to work and was finished painting his house in no less than half a nanosecond. It was then that Francine Flutter, the talkative easy-peasy butterfly, happened to be passing by. She looked over the gate and saw Douglas rushing around.
"Hi, Douglas,"
she called out.
"I was just passing by when I saw you and thought I might as well come on over and see you anyway. How are you? I myself am doing well. Isn't it cool today? Oh yes, you can't go wrong with the cool autumnal weather. And oh, are you decorating your house? Very nice indeed. And furthermore..."
And she went on and on and on until Douglas interrupted her and said, "Oh, well, I think you'd better be on your way, wee buddy Francine. I'm in too much of a hurry. Oh, someone shut her up." Francine thought about it and said,
Okay, well, before I go, how about you make me a nice warm flask of hot chocolate? I haven't got a flask myself, but I think you probably have loads of them, seeing as you're on the go and all that, and also...
And she rambled on and on and on, but Douglas was on it like a dart and hurried back inside and made a flask of hot chocolate, zoomed back outside and gave it to Francine Flutter. Francine looked at the flask of hot chocolate. Douglas was getting very impatient. "Well, aren't you going to drink up?" he asked impatiently. Francine looked at Douglas in a confused way and said,
I don't suppose you have any chocolate chip cookies on you. Those go well with hot chocolate. I think it's the best combination ever. And did I ever tell you about...
Douglas was getting very irritated by Francine's constant ramblings, so he hurried back inside, seized a cookie from his cookie jar, hurried back outside and shoved it into Francine's mouth and sent her packing. Then he looked at his house. "Oh, Crivens! Wasn't it fast enough?" he exclaimed. "The sky's getting more cloudier than ever, and it looks like it'll rain soon." But he needn't have worried, for who should arrive on cue but Sean Swoop? He looked very bedraggled. "I'm back, mate," he said. "It took me 17 tabs of Vegemite and a shrimp on the Barbie to find it, but here it is, my CD player with a CD of Susie Squawk's greatest hits." And he put the CD in the player and turned it up full blast. I'm sorry to say that Sean's CD player was actually 16 years old. And it was nearly on the verge of breaking down. The sound quality was so awful that Douglas had to bury his head in the ground because of the terrible din. "Crivens, turn that muckle nuisance noise down!" he complained. Sean had no choice but to obey Douglas's command. He wished he hadn't now, because the CD player's loud volume had sent shockwaves throughout the Easy Peasy Serengeti, and the leaves had flown off the trees and had settled themselves all over Douglas's house. "What have you done, Sean?" demanded Douglas, feeling very irritated that all his hard work had gone to waste. Sean Swoop looked at Douglas, then at Turbo Cottage, then at his CD player, then back at Douglas again. "Well," he said shakily, "I think I'd better leave you alone, you muckle nuisance! Ah!"